All right, hello. This is going to be a presentation about Brazilian music. This is an overview. This is by no means an exhaustive or an extensive um, presentation about Brazilian music. Let's just get started. At any point during this presentation, you're welcome to come back to this page, which is called the Table of Contents. Anytime you can just click the home button that is at the bottom of each slide. You should be able to see this page and then go to all the different slides that are available in this presentation. So an overview of Brazilian music is that it's very rich in terms of the influence. Brazilian music is influenced by a lot of different cultures, including European, African, American, and Amerindian, which is South American indigenous music. Now, while there is a lot of original genres in Brazil, like samba, maracatu, sertanejo, this discussion will focus on the most popular original Brazilian genres in and out of Brazil. So just highlighting a couple genres. Like I said, there is an innumerable amount of genres, so we're just going to talk about 4 genres in particular. Okay, so the first genre we have is called choro. And Shoto is considered the first distinct popular Brazilian genre. Now, the word actually means cry. It means lament, right? Which is ironic because a lot of the music in this genre is actually pretty upbeat and happy. Shoto started to appear around the mid-19th century in Rio de Janeiro, which is the capital. Well, it was the capital of Brazil at that time. And it was mostly by middle class that this genre started appearing. Most people say that this is the first distinct popular Brazilian genres. There were other genres before Choro, but they were just a mix classical European music mixed with Brazilian styles. So eventually those Brazilian styles developed into what is Choro, which is African-inspired rhythms on the percussion, and then played on classical European instruments like piano and flute. Notable musicians in this genre include Chiquinha Gonzaga and Pixinguinha. Chiquinha Gonzaga she was celebrated in one of the Google Doodles a couple years ago, and so I wanted to include that. To know more about the genre Choro, feel free to click on More About Choro. Next genre we have is called Samba. Now this is very important in Brazil. This is the heartbeat of Brazil, if you will. It's considered the most important cultural identity of Brazil. Now, kind of like Shoto, it's hard to really pinpoint exactly when it started, but a clear, defined genre of samba started in the early 20th century by the working class, again, in Rio. There's also a dance called samba, so samba is the dance and the genre. And unlike Choro, samba is actually sung, and it's a lot more rhythmic and less classical than Choro. So less piano and a lot more percussion, a lot more drums. Some of the instruments that are present in this genre are the pandeiro, which is like a Brazilian tambourine, the cuica, which is a friction drum, has a stick inside, and you're supposed to rub the stick and it makes friction sounds, and then the surdo, which is basically just a bass drum. Notable musicians include Ari Boroso and Carmen Miranda. Next up, we got Bossa Nova. Now this is technically a subgenre of samba and not actually a genre of its own. Bossa Nova literally means new trend. And it started to appear in the late 1950s, early 1960s in what is now known as the Bossa Nova crave. And what's interesting about this genre is that it combined various elements of jazz, like jazz chords, with Brazilian rhythms, like samba. So you got this very interesting mix of you got the American in this. And then the samba, of course, we know it has a lot of African rhythms. And so it created this unique, again, subgenre of samba called Bossa Nova. From Bossa Nova, we actually get a lot of jazz standards, including Chega de Saudade in No More Blues in English. We also get the famous Garota de Ipanema, or The Girl from Ipanema, covered by pretty much everyone, including Frank Sinatra. Quincy Jones even did a Bossa Nova album in the 1960s during this Bossa Nova crave. Instruments include the bass guitar, piano, and drum set. Again, a lot more American, if you will. American influence. Notable musicians in this genre include Tom Jobim and João Gilberto. All right. Next up, we got the Forró genre. Now, originally, this was actually a Northeast folk genre. Like Samba, Forró is also the name of the dance that is accompanied with the music genre. So from the folk genre, it was actually redefined and popularized by Luis Gonzaga in the early 1940s. Now, Luis Gonzaga himself was from the Northeast, and he spread this genre all across Brazil and eventually all across the world. The most popular stage, if you will, the popular peak of the Forró genre was the 1940s, all the way up to the Bossa Nova craze. So we're talking about early 1960s. After that, it declined heavily, but recently it's actually having a resurgence and popularity all over the world, including Europe, which is pretty interesting. Luis Gonzaga actually defined Forró, the heartbeat of Forró, as only having at least these three instruments: the accordion, the triangle, and a bass drum called the sambumba. This is the three instruments that defines the genre Forró. Notable musicians include Luis Gonzaga, again, who helped define and popularize the genre, and Jackson do Pandeiro. All right, so some closing words for this presentation is that, again, while there are a lot more genres out there, these are just highlights of very rich genres that have not only have influenced from other cultures, but have influenced different genres like jazz and created jazz standards. And because of this richness in origin, in composition, I do believe that Brazilian music, including the genres mentioned, are worth studying for their cultural, linguistic, and educational value that they could present. And of course, we can always just listen for fun. And that's about it. This is a little bit about me. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.